Hello, everyone. We welcome you to this episode number 44 of the Eco Program webinar series. And today we'll be discussing something really very important. So as you are joining the webinar, we're wishing you a very good morning, afternoon, or evening. And let's start with the introductions of the wonderful speakers that we are having today. So first of all, my name is Evgenia Kostanaya. I'm the Eco Program Global Coordinator, and I'll be co-moderating this very important webinar today with my great colleague, Fiona. Fiona, over to you.
Yes, hi. Hi everyone. Thank you so much for joining. I'm so excited for today. I'm Fiona. I'm a marine biologist and I've been working all over the place in cetacean research in the Azores to polar expedition guiding and working on EU projects and representing young scientists at conferences as well. And so currently I'm a PhD student in Hawaii and I'm studying humpback whales. And I'm very excited to be co-hosting today's webinar with Evgenia. And so I'm going to continue straight with the introductions. I'd like to introduce to you all our panelists for today. And first of all, we're looking at Marie-Céline Piednoir. She is the founder of Positive Ripple Consulting, where she works at the intersection of ocean conservation, policy, and partnerships. And coming from a background in global initiatives at Adidas, she's now a connector and advocate for our ocean, collaborating with organizations like WCS, Sea Legacy, and Coral Gardeners. And then we also have Cosmin Kivu joining us today. He is a project officer at the International Ocean Institute, where he coordinates ocean governance, capacity building programs across the IOI's global network. And with a background in international relations and an MA, a Master of Arts in Ocean Governance, he specifically focuses on high seas policy and sustainability. And last but not least, we have Patti or Patricia Puig-Martí. She is a senior consultant in marine conservation and the blue economy with over 15 years of international experience. She is the founder of Oceanogami, a consultancy focused on marine protected areas, ocean governance, and the Blue Society, which is a platform helping professionals build careers in the ocean sector. So there couldn't be a more perfect setup for today's discussion. And welcome to you all. And thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you, Fiona. And again, welcome everyone. And thank you to our great speakers for joining us in this very valuable discussion. Just a little bit of logistics and just internal rules for the webinar today. So this webinar is being recorded. If you would like to then share the recording with your friends, colleagues, anyone who needs that, you'll be able to do that in a few days. Just check out our LinkedIn account. You will find it on our YouTube channel. So we'll have our chat and the Q&A section that you will find on your Zoom screen here. So if you have any question to ask me or Fiona or to either of our speakers, please do post your question in the Q&A section. So then either of us or either of the speakers will attend to it, or we will just grab it for the Q&A session at the end of the webinar. Please do not post your question in the chat because chat tends to be very crowded after a while and we will simply miss your very important questions. So any questions, please post them in the Q&A section. So in the chat, please do share if you would like any, maybe websites you want to promote or any important information that you think might be relevant. And also I encourage our speakers to also share any websites of theirs or any links that they mention in their speeches or interventions. So the overall flow will be, we will start with the panel discussion with the three speakers, and then we'll have basically at the end, we'll have the Q&A session where you'll be able to ask your question, or we'll be able to address your question from the Q&A section. So basically, that's it. Yes, so we'll make sure to do this webinar as important and as valuable as possible for you. Fiona, over to you then.
Yes, thank you very much, Evgenia. And so now that we have the house rules set aside, we were just gonna talk a little bit about how this webinar came to be. So actually, Evgenia and me, we met at the UN Ocean Decade Conference. I don't know, I think it's even 2 years ago at this point.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
we're just like casually discussing how, how it is so tricky to navigate this ocean ecosystem job-wise. We all come from different backgrounds. Some of us study marine biology, some of us study policy or something completely else. But in the end, we all came together at this conference. And I don't know, I mean, Evgenia, you can jump in there as well, but I was thinking, I was struggling a lot with this. I came out of my marine biology master's degree and they handed me the degree, and I was like, okay, well, what do I do now besides become a scientist and do research, right? For some people, that's the perfect path. For others, maybe there's other ways that you can explore and still speak up for the ocean. And so we thought it would be lost knowledge if we're all walking our lives, finding our path, and don't share this knowledge with all of you. And so, yeah, and I think Evgenia has also told me with regards to the ECOP program, you're being approached a lot about this question as well, right?
Yes, we are. So for those of you that don't know us, ECOP program is the UN Ocean Decade endorsed program for early career ocean professionals. So this is what ECOP stands for, early career ocean professionals. And we do a lot of webinars and such and side events. So we do get a lot of requests about, okay, so how do I change my field in the ocean? Or let's say I work elsewhere, in a completely separate field from the ocean sector, and I do like working around the ocean. So how do I do that? How do I make this career move? So yes, we do get a lot of questions like this. And once I remember I was trying to answer someone in a webinar like that, just in the Q&A section of the Zoom. And I saw like, no, but this is such a long and interesting discussion that is really worth a separate webinar. So this is how me and Fiona decided to actually go for it.
Yeah.
Um,
And we're so excited it's finally happening. We've been holding on to this idea for a while. And so, yeah, I can see more and more people are showing up. We're gonna start with a quick poll, right, Evgenia?
Yes, so let's start with just trying to understand where you are in terms of looking for advice in the webinar today. So we have just a very quick poll here. I will launch it right now and give you some time. We have 3 questions here. Um, uh, Fiona, do you see that the
Yes,
poll?
just
Yeah,
popped up for me right
great.
there.
Yeah, I see replies coming up. So the first question is, what best describes your current situation? And please select only one answer. So whether you are a student or an early career professional, or maybe you are transitioning from another sector, or maybe you are an experienced professional.
Exactly. And then for the second question that we've added in here is, what's your main challenge right now? So basically, what's your motivation to join us today? Is it a lack of clarity? Do you not really know where to go? Or is it because you know kind of where you want to go, but you don't really know how to find opportunities in that direction? Or you're totally lost in general. You don't know how to position your profile in the sense that you know where to go. You might also know which resources to use for that, but you don't really know how to set up your profile or your application for it. Or you're just looking for a network in the ocean sector so that you have people around you that you can learn from.
Yes, and then a very quick third question is about, are you currently considering a career transition into the ocean sector? So yes, we see a lot of yes. So that means that we have reached our correct and really fitting audience this time. So no or not sure. So this is, I hope, why we're here for you today to help you with this move, with this career transition. So we've all been there. I've also made my career transition some years ago. I was also frustrated at one point, not knowing how to make this transition because I really wanted to work in the ocean sector. And yeah, I was working very long hours trying to find the right opportunity to make that transition. So I think we've all been there, and happy to share the experience with you as well.
Yeah,
So we have
should we
yeah, 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 go
should we
ahead.
dive straight into the questions and into the panel? Did you get enough replies for the polls?
I think so. I see that we have 43, almost 43. Yeah, 32 replies, 43. Yeah, so let's just quickly yeah, I think they stopped replying. They just quickly um, just discuss the question, the replies. So for the first question, what best describes your current situation? Most of the respondents, 21 of 35 who responded, said that they are early career ocean professionals, and then 10 out of 35 are students. Three are transitioning from another sector, and one is an experienced professional. But most of our audience are early career professionals. And then, what's your main challenge? The main challenge is difficulty finding opportunities. 28 people selected this, and then it's equally 15 people each responded saying not knowing how to position my profile and lack of clarity on career direction. Yeah, these are really very, very big ones. And then also limited network in the ocean sector, which is, yeah, understandable. If you don't have a great network, it's hard to move to make this career transition. And whether you are currently considering a career transition, yes, so 30 people out of 35 present today said yes, five no. Okay, so I think we have very valuable information about our audience today. So I'll finish this poll and we can move to our panel discussion.
Yeah, okay, let's dive right in. So, first, I was curious about our panelists' initial background and education and how they did the move into the ocean sphere, basically. So, was it by chance or was it targeted? Like, did you know exactly how to make your move and how to set yourself up to enter the ocean space job-wise, and also what you're doing now? I'm gonna direct that question to Marie-Céline. Maybe we can start with you.
Thank you, Fiona. I heard some of the people are trying to transition from another industry. Well, this is what I did. So I studied marketing, luxury, and fashion. So what am I doing here? Good question. No, but I really wanted to work in that space. So I was very studious at school. So I gave it all. You know, I had the good grade. I wanted the perfect file. I applied to top business school. I did this, and I ended up working at LVMH, so Louis Vuitton Moet Hennessy. And then I quickly realized that was not for me. So this was kind of my first um, mini crisis, and I was like, okay, what I'm gonna do? So at the time, I mean, I still love it, but I loved sports. I was part of Adidas runners communities. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna apply to Adidas. So I applied to Adidas in Germany at the Global HQ, got an internship, and this became almost 4 years. So working for Adidas Women, mainly in community building, still in marketing, comms. So I would say my background is mainly in that space. And I'm the generation that while we were working in marketing, social media appeared. So I would say my specialty was mostly marketing, social media, and comms. But after 4 years, I could feel it was not, I would work on Run for the Ocean, but I would still receive like shoes in plastic bag and so on. So I still loved my job. Like it was amazing. I traveled the world. I went to the Olympic Games. It was really, really amazing. But it didn't sit right with me. So I decided to resign. And at first, I mean, I kind of did it. I had like a eat, pray, love moment. I went to India. I became a yoga teacher. And then I was like, okay, what am I going to do? And at first, I wanted to keep on working with women in the sport industry. But you mentioned chance. I don't think it's chance because we all worked, I think, in that panel and also in the members of that call, we all worked very hard. So I don't think it's chance, but like kind of destiny um, make make that one of my friend with who I studied at the business school. So you see, the world is small. Reached out and she was like, "Listen, MC, I'm working in a coral restoration project in French Polynesia, and we need someone to take the lead on marketing, comms, PR, social media, and so on." So then I remembered that day I was still at Adidas and I looked on Google Map where Moorea was. And you have to de-zoom the maximum to like you're in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. And I was like, okay, I want to be useful. That's the one thing I knew. I wanted to be useful. So I was like, okay, let's go for 1 year. So I arrived in French Polynesia to that NGO replanting corals, which now is very famous, Coral Gardeners. But this was already 7 years ago. And this is when I realized you do not have to be a marine biologist to work in ocean conservation. And they do not tell you this when you study at least business. I don't know for other industries, but they're like, you're going to work in consulting, in finance, in banking, and this kind of thing. And this was 7 years ago. And since then, I first started in marketing, comms, social media for ocean conservation. And long story short, I moved slowly towards more campaigning, partnerships, and then policy. And now at the moment, I prepared a few links. And now I created my own consulting company, which is called Positive Ripple Consulting. And I work at the intersection of science, private sector, policy, campaigning. So it's not very nice, but I'm kind of the air traffic control of some other projects. And one of the projects I'm working on at the moment is a commitment to protect climate resilient coral reef ecosystem. And I'm the point of contact for more than 20 governments. Like I talk with ministers, I talk with top scientists, I collaborate. My three main clients are TNC, WWF, and WCS, part of the coalition. So anyway, long story short, now I'm worried. Each time I email a minister, I'm like, wow, you can like, I think we all have expertise we can transfer from what we learn, what we want to do, and maybe ocean conservation. That's it.
That's a beautiful reply. I think it's a great storyline to see also, how much we need different skills in the ocean sector as well, right? Like coming from the outside, like marketing, I mean, that's relevant in the ocean environment as much as it is for anywhere else. So I think it's a great story, like where you ended up and now you're talking to ministers. So I feel like that's a big win for the ocean.
Yes, I think I agree. I think it's a very beautiful story, and it actually gives hope that, as you said, you can just move to the ocean sector without having actually a degree in that, and actually you are a great contributor to that. Okay, so let's move to our next speaker. So, Cosmin, what is your story? Tell us.
I have the nearly complete opposite story to Marisa Lynn. Basically, my ocean journey was not something I planned from the beginning at all. It developed, I think it was a combination, a bit of chance, a bit of opportunity, a bit of curiosity, and I think it was a lot of dubious yeses said along the way as well. But in a nutshell, during my undergrad studies in international relations, I was working a summer job, you know, the usual poor student looking for some extra pocket money, and I bumped exactly into my current colleagues at the job I had then. Until I met them, I didn't even know what ocean governance was. I didn't know anything, absolute zero. And they introduced me and they told me, hey, we have this awesome course in Malta. Why don't you come and join it? The course was actually for people who were already ocean career practitioners. And I was a little bit the odd one out. But I said, okay, this sounds like an awesome opportunity. Let's see what comes out. I had no clear idea what these people were doing. But it was that spark which came very randomly in my case. And I think it was in that program, the IOI Malta training program, where I first got that experience of just how vast the ocean issues are, just how complex, and just how many things there are to do, even for people who are very confused like I was at that stage. So basically, this was the experience that after I graduated from my bachelor's, this was the experience which actually pushed me to doing an MA in ocean governance as well. And this is where I did feel that this was a career path. I did feel that there was something I could do to help. And basically, I found a bit of meaning in all the issues that by that stage I started knowing about. This was also the point where I started working part-time with the International Ocean Institute, and I had this very valuable opportunity of both learning the theoretical and doing the practical at the same time. And that really, really helped me a lot. As well, what was a bit different than a normal career path is that I started working in a very small team. It's the sort of place where you have to wear many hats. I had no idea what social media was. I had no idea of doing it, but there you go. Today I have to do it because of my job. And that applies to many things. I never thought I would be able to lecture on something for 2 hours, which again, it's something which evolved quite naturally from this. And yeah, but now I realize that it was quite a strength working in a small team and doing a lot of things. Uh, that's about it. I'm very happy to expand on more things with other questions as well.
Thank you, Cosmin. That is also a very interesting story and inspiring story. I think that shows that you can actually learn very, relatively easily to be
And I was not a studious person like Marie Celeste, so don't worry. There's still chances for people like us, okay? But it would have been a lot easier if I was. That's all I'm gonna say. A lot easier.
I love the point that you're saying about like meeting your friends and then hearing about that course and kind of like how coincidences and talking to people really sometimes lead you on this path and then you follow it because you're spontaneous and like what's there to lose, right? And then you end up in places like that. And I feel like that is a very important point to raise, but we'll probably get around this point anyways later on in this conversation. But what about you, Pati? Tell us about yourself a little bit as well.
Thank you. It is great to hear about your stories, Mariceline and Cosmin, and really inspiring. So my story, I would say from the very early beginning, when I was, I had to choose what to study, what degree to study. I was in a doubt, like many people, no? So because I was very passionate about, actually was a chess player, I was very passionate about music. I had my first computer. So, and then, it was a mix of things, but I was always, since little, very passionate about the conservation of the ocean. And actually, my mom, she's a biologist. So she, when I was little, I was snorkeling in Barcelona. And even I don't do that anymore, but at the time I catch fishes for my aquarium. We had a little sea aquarium, but that helped me very much. I used to identify the species, no, in the aquarium, so that helped me to learn, no, about taxonomy and all these things. So then I studied biology because there was not the opportunity for studying marine biology. But what I really had very clear, but later it changed very, that I didn't want to be in a lab because I saw my mom working on a lab all day. So for me, I like a lot the field, you know, to be in the sea, you know, really connected to the sea. But then I finished my biology degree, and I do my best to specialize in marine biology because I knew that was my passion. So then I did my Erasmus in Trieste in Italy, where I specialized in marine biology. I later did a master's, and I also had, before the master's actually, I had a lot of experiences abroad. I think that's very important. And I had the luck, but of course I look for that, to have grants to support that. No? So when I finished my degree, I got several grants for working abroad, like internships abroad. And that helped me also as the Spanish, that we are not very good at English also. So then also to improve the language, that's super important, no? English is common language. So I did also in very good research centers. I was working there in Bangor University. I also went to Mott Marine Laboratory in Florida. So I had several experiences. All was about research, no? And then I was hired for a year in Maldives. I really love to work in small islands. This is also my passion, and also my passion at the moment was to protect the coral reefs and conserve the coral reefs. Really passionate about that. So I went there and I work as a coral restoration manager, actually, you know, because there was no other person there. So then working on the restoration project, restored more than 1,000 coral frames. So I was all the day in the water, and also with tourists that they were sponsored this. And it was very enriching experience, but at the same time I was missing research, no? So I came, what I want to, my point here is that I didn't do a straight line. So I work in different organizations, different career paths between the marine conservation, different sectors. And then from there, I say, okay, I wanted to do a PhD, no? I wanted to do research because I was missing that. I was missing the point of what I'm doing here. Didn't have time for really doing research. So then I came back to Europe. I stopped my job after a year. I quit and I looked for actively for a PhD, and I got a Marie Curie training program, really good PhD program. And there, when I finished my PhD, I realized that, okay, maybe, you know, it's not for me really, you know, to go into research, the research path. When I studied my degree, actually, my degree, at the time they told me there are only two paths, two career paths, teacher or being a researcher. But then I found out through my life career that there are many different paths, no, as you all know now. So then I work as a project manager. I applied for a job in Galapagos, and I was working in Galapagos on the deep sea because I also had experience there as a researcher. So deep sea monitoring program, and then I work in an NGO, no. So then my experience, long story short, I work in NGOs, I work in the private sector, also the research sector. And then end up after Galapagos, actually, I came back to Barcelona and I saw the people. So it's the city where I grew, no? So I'm very connected to it. And I saw that the people still was living in we say, with the back, looking at the back on the sea, no? So without looking at the sea at the time, and now it's becoming a blue economy city, no? And there's a lot of startups and organizations, no, working for the protection of the ocean. But at the time, there was not much. So I started my own consultancy company, and it was the first time. So I tried another career path, we can say, that is starting a business. No, it's completely new. You don't learn from that from your degree. But I had also the chance to have also score grants, no, and mentors and good mentors that helped me to start to run my own consultancy company. And now I'm in this after 8 years, 9 years self-consulting. I have also my team of consultants that they help me, to run these projects over the world with the consultancies, working particularly for NGOs or governments. And then also I became a career mentor because I'm very passionate about helping people also to find their career path. So yeah, very happy to be here and share my experience. And I hope yes, people will learn from each other. I'm also sharing in the chat here my links in case you would like to connect through LinkedIn or check the webpage or my email as well.
Thank you, thank you. That's really great. That's also another career path, which is also very valuable, and we'll be absolutely digging in more detail into each of your stories. Actually, very much related to the stories that you have just shared, we have our next question about transferable skills. When you read all kind of advice on how to make your career move, very often you will find this advice that you should identify skills that you already have, and try to show to your next employer how the skills can be employed in your new position. And very often I feel that people think that, okay, if I'm going from business to ocean research, there is no way there are skills that might interest a scientific institution, because it's just a completely different sector. And I think we can argue that this is not the case, because in any sector, in any job that you're doing, you gain valuable skills that can be absolutely very valuable for your next employer. So with this new question, I would like to explore this topic. So what transferable skills have you brought into your current position or into the ocean sector broadly from your previous experience, jobs, positions, and sectors? Okay, so Marie-Céline, let's start with you.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, this is also one of the things I realized when I joined the ocean bubble. They need, and then now it seems so obvious, but they need accounting, HR, marketing, storytelling, finance. I mean, we have a lot of ECOP here, so people that are already passionate about the ocean. But I think another webinar you could do is also talking to people that are not at all connected with the ocean, because we also need them. So yeah, you summarized it really well. Like we are all unique, and we all have specific skills that are going to be beneficial for an organization, an NGO, a government, or even the private sector that wants to do good. On my end, I think mainly project management. When you're study business school, you create those business cases, and you need to take into consideration so many things like marketing, finance, what audience, what are the risks, what are the politics. Like, you really build this global picture when you create business cases that now are really useful to me, because when I'm hired for a project, I'm usually hired by an NGO, let's say usually with a scientific background, and I'm going to be like, okay, what's the comms plan? There is no comms plan. Okay, are you connected with Blue Finance? No, but that's a good idea. Are you, like, there is an entire ecosystem that when people are super focused and specialized into something, they don't have the time, or they don't even think about connecting the dots. So I would say project management is important. Also working under pressure. I guess a lot of us, I mean, especially, I don't know if it's just in business school, but we used to study at the very last minute for exams, but then we were machines. Like, we would be I work really well under pressure. And I have the feeling that it's very useful when an hour before a big conference, a big event you've been working on, you receive a text from a permanent secretary who is like, the minister cannot make it. And you're like, oh no. And then you have to have a backup plan. So this is useful also. One thing more, yeah, marketing, storytelling, comms are useful for almost any private sector. So if it's something you're interested in, bringing the story of the people, capturing the story of the people, a lot of the pillars or the ecosystems in the ocean conservation space still do need to tell more about what they are doing because they do a great job, but we don't know about it or we don't understand it. And then I would say also learning. So I know Cosmin was saying he was constantly learning new things in the new projects he got. That's one of the things I love in my current role for the past 6, 7 years. Every single day, I learn something, but then I need to learn fast. Like, because sometimes they drop names or organizations, institutions, countries I didn't study or know about, and I have to be like, okay, you need to know more. So I would say learning fast is also something that I brought from my past experiences. And at last, I think anything with diplomacy, like knowing to talk to different sectors, being able to be seated next to, I don't know, a CEO of a big private fund or someone working on the field or a scientist, like knowing how to adjust what you are saying to the audience, to the people is very important. And yeah, adaptability also, being able to shift when there are last minute changes or depending on who you are talking to or what's the goal of your current mission. So, everything I just told you, I could have said the same words for a campaign for Chanel. You know what I mean, almost? So those expertise could be useful in a lot of different industries. And ocean conservation does need also those kind of expertise.
Yeah,
I think
just
that's
yeah,
very
yeah,
good summary, right, Evgenia? Yeah.
yes,
I feel
no,
like,
absolutely.
yeah, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
No, yeah, you go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it's beautiful that you look at it from this angle because I feel like that is something I've never thought about, when you just come out of grad school and maybe like Patti said, like marine biology was your passion, you would study biology, then you study marine biology and you end up in this ocean bubble already kind of, but then you don't really understand anything that works outside of science. And you hear about it in the news and you hear about the UN Ocean Decade and all these things, but you're thinking like, I know the scientists are part of it, but like, what's the whole machinery behind it and all the skills that are useful for this as well, which kind of opens up this whole catalog of pathways that you can go into that are not necessarily science, right? But Cosmin, what about you with your current role in the International Ocean Institute? I mean, you mentioned some of the skills, like being open and learning constantly, but what are some other skills that you could think of that are beneficial in your current role specifically?
I was quite lucky when it comes to transferable skills because of my international relations background. This proved to be really useful because it helped me in areas like policy analysis, critical thinking, communication. As Marie-Céline said, diplomacy, you are not talking to the same people every day. You have to adapt your communication style to the audience every time. Even, let's say, marketing is the same, as mentioned earlier. Sometimes you have to do 4 or 5 versions of a poster just to have it the right way for the right channel. So I think a very good skill that transfers from many, many other fields is flexibility as well. And adapting exactly to the audience you have, making sure that you understood everybody has limited time. A lot of people, especially in the ocean governance career path, what happens, and this is very visible with our speakers here today, they wear many hats. So you have to be very clear when you approach people in the field, go straight to the point. It's and this is a good transition in my other point. You need to make friends. It's a very small field. A personal touch goes a long way. Sometimes you have to stay at the party late. Sometimes you have to stay. I had some wonderful networking, for example, on the outskirts of conferences just after the lecture or the panel finished, just going up to the speaker, speaking to them. Everybody was really, really eager to share in my experience as well. So I would capitalize on that. If people are passionate, they'll love to share most of the time. and I think I'll end with that. Yeah, there's just a few more things. There's some tangential skills which are really useful if you can bring them, but also you can build them up. For example, public speaking, presenting, and yeah, these will always help you. Again, these are general. I think they apply to any job on the face of the planet, but even more in a small field like ocean governance.
I quickly want to jump in there because something that I really resonated with is that you're saying that you're working with so many people that have different hats on, right? You know, last week I was preparing a scientific poster about my research, but my audience wasn't scientific, it was for funders. And so those are people that have no scientific background whatsoever, and it's really like I was just like trying to kind of step into their position, think what would I be interested about knowing, or what would stick with me, you know? And it's really important if you want to be effective also in the way like what you're trying to do in this communicate. Is it a conference? Is it a presentation? Is it a poster? Whatever. Like thinking and taking this other perspective is usually helping you a lot. And that's something I'm learning as well, because, you know, in the science world, you could talk forever and it's so hard for, like, I can see this with my family as well. Like if I explain them about my research and I go deeper and deeper into detail, I can see I'm losing them, and it's a valuable skill to look at that. Yeah, thank you, Cosmin, that's very helpful.
Yeah, thank you, Cosmin. I think yeah, that point of adaptability is really very crucial. And you are right. There are certain soft skills that you can actually learn even at the side, like take a separate private course. There are really great courses online for free out there, so that's not really a problem nowadays for any job. Thank you. And so, Patty, what about you? What transferable skills have you brought into your current role?
Yes, thank you for sharing as well. I cannot agree more with Mariceline and Cosmin about these transferable skills. In my case, of course, hard skills are necessary, you know, for your job, but these transferable skills are the ones that are common from any role that you can have, no, and it are really necessary, no. So as a consultant, of course, I need my hard skills on knowing how marine protected areas work, the different types, no, the more we can say more technical or more specific in that sense. But what really helped me most in the different roles, it was also to learn about project management, to manage projects. I didn't learn that in my degree. I learned it on the way, working as a project manager, you know, so you finally learn. And then communication, yes, is super important. Marketing, when I learned most about that, it was developing my own consultancy company. I learned about these transferable skills on business. No, I didn't know anything about business at all. No, so I learned about from developing a minimum viable product, how to how to grow these projects, no, and then how to communicate them. And of course, I work with experts, so you don't have to. That's really important, no? Like experts like Marceline on marketing and communication, no? So you don't need to know everything on these transferable skills. But if you work with, you know the basics, we can say, though, when you work with experts, also they can help you, you know. And networking is really important, as we were saying, no, when you go in a conference, afterwards it's more important to talk afterwards, no, with people more one-to-one. I really like that. Is when you learn most and when you connect more with the people in person if it's possible. On my because I'm working now consulting and a lot remotely, so I do a lot of networking as well through LinkedIn. So any, you know, online platform that you use, no, for networking, that could be useful. And then yes, as much as you can, so you can go to conference. I don't go much conference, but I go more to doing projects, no, with other people. Then you share, and working with the stakeholders, particularly, you know, during my PhD, I learned a lot of transferable skills, luckily. So I learned about how to engage with the different stakeholders. That was very relevant, no? How to communicate with, we're saying, you know, with business sector, with an NGO, with the government, science sector is completely a different language, no? And sometimes we don't understand each other. So having a person that can communicate between them and translate between them, that's really, yeah, very relevant.
Yes, I think communication is really big, and this is very important, I think, in any job or in personal life as well. And especially, yes, I think that connects also with what Cosmin mentioned, that you have sometimes to, yes, stay very late at the party, or really go approach the speaker. Sometimes this can be nerve-wracking, etc. But this pays off. This is how you expand your network, and you need to know actually how to strike up a conversation, how to keep the conversation going, and what's more importantly, how to keep the contact after the conference, because very often people just go silent and nothing happens after the event. So there are all those kind of tips that are very useful as well. Thank you, Patty.
Thank you, Patti. I just want to jump in there. I feel like, when you're saying staying longer after the conference or approaching speakers, like Cosmin said, I feel like that's usually something that really scares you in the beginning, or it's like really something that puts you out of your comfort zone. And in my experience, usually the things that make your hands sweaty, or you're like getting nervous, it's a sign that it's pushing you out of your comfort zone, and that's like probably exactly what you should be going for, or just trying it, because in the end it's like, what's there to lose? Like, I hate approaching someone after a talk and just like, I don't know, even if it's just to congratulate them or say I thought that's super interesting, but the more you do it, the easier it gets. And then eventually you'll get this one connection that might change everything for you as well. Yeah, so I love everything that all of you were saying and putting together here in this. And it kind of is a good transition also to the next question. And before we go there, I just wanted to share some skills that I'm learning right now doing my PhD, which is really funny because I know we're all a little bit in the same situation of having to organize ourselves and having to organize our time and knowing what to prioritize. That is something I'm really learning right now, is like, how do I manage my time as a PhD student? You can do a lot or nothing at all, and it's really like, how do you track your goals? How do you know the little tiny steps that you need to take to get there? And how do you write a grant like you've never done this, or an analysis? Like, really, how to be a scientist is in itself a huge skill to learn. Which leads to this next question, something that I've experienced a lot now in my first 2 years of doing my PhD, is imposter syndrome, right? Like, you're thrown into this environment where it seems almost like everyone around you knows exactly what they're doing. They know exactly what next step to take. And you're just like in this big pond and just like trying to stay above the surface and trying to like survive there, And so obviously doubts come up, is like, am I made to do this? Can I even do this? Do I have the resources? What do I need to eventually learn stuff that I don't know right now? And so that's my question for you, MC. Maybe you can help a little bit, because you came out of a complete different area into the ocean sphere. And like you said, I mean, probably a lot of experience in French Polynesia that came up, of like, what am I even doing here? Like, do I fit in here? What's your experience with maybe imposter syndrome, and how did you deal with it?
Yeah, I think I don't want to say I have it every single day. I'm scared it will not look professional, but I think I do have it every single day. But I think now I kind of like it because it's exactly what you just said. Now I'm like, so for example, I'm on a call and they're going to use that acronyms within one of the COP CBD branches, and I'm going to be like, oh wow, I have no idea what this is. But then I like, I may be crazy, but I'm like, okay, this is new. Then I looked at it and I learned about it, and I'm coming back to the learning phase. Like, I think whenever you have this imposter syndrome, my advice, which is difficult when you're young and unfortunately often a woman, is being afraid to ask. So people think that maybe you don't know, or you're not supposed to be here, or you're not worth the work. I would recommend asking. This is something, especially during conferences, what you described, Fiona. I know also this situation very well. I have the feeling that as long as you're transparent, honest, passionate, and people see that you're literally asking, that you're strong enough to tell them, I don't know, but I'm asking because I want to know, I want to learn, they actually appreciate it rather than you being like, oh, yeah, sure, sure. So I would say not being afraid to ask. And if people then are like, oh, she doesn't know, then maybe it's not people you want to work with anyway. So I would say, do not be afraid to ask. But once they give you so listen, be super humble. Like there's always someone in the room that knows more than you. So ask, listen, and then learn. Like don't ask twice the question the next week. Make sure that once they give you the information, you make your research, you learn about it, you do the extra work, so then you know for the next time. So yeah, that would be, don't be afraid to ask, but then listen and work so you know next time. That's it.
Thank you. I think this is a super helpful advice, and I completely agree, because once I was also transitioning from business into the ocean sector, I came to my first summer school around the ocean, one ocean issue, and I remember then I felt this imposter syndrome, because they all had, you know, like PhD in this on this topic, and I just came exactly as you said, like I was just very much interested in this topic. So it was really, as you said, I was asking, I was humble, etc. And I was lucky because that group at the summer school, they were super nice people, and they knew, like I was honest, as you said, and I think they were very much appreciative of that, and they really wanted to help. And oh, okay, so she's really very much passionate about this topic. Great. And they were completely fine, you know, with me, and we made great friends with these people, etc. So I was really lucky that they made me feel like at home at that point. So my entry into the ocean sector at that time was very smooth and really nice. Yeah, so yeah, I completely agree with what you said, with your advice. Cosmin, what about you? What did you experience the imposter syndrome?
I mean, you have to be good at something to have imposter syndrome, so it doesn't apply to me at all. But yeah, I guess you want some advice. So if I were to add my 2 cents, I don't think that you need to wait until you are fully ready in all these little soft skills that all the speakers, Patricia and Marie-Céline, mentioned you. There's a big chance that if you've had an academic or a practical background, there's a very, very big chance that you already have some relevant skills. It's only a matter of positioning and finding the right avenue for them. It's a lot of things seem very small at first, but they can grow. Also, there's this how can I say? There's this never good enough for a certain task or a certain field. It's never going to be good enough. But also keep in mind that once you start doing and you start working and you start applying, your skills sharpen as well. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to have exactly ticked everything on the application box. I'm not going to tell you outright to lie on your CV, but you understand what you want to understand. And yeah, there's always a chance to meaningfully collaborate and work on something with the skills that you already have.
Yeah, I really resonate with that because I'm doubting a lot what I can bring to the table right now. Probably Patty can relate a lot as well. It's like early PhD, you're super unsure about everything and you're doubting yourself. And I always try to remind myself, like, okay, there's a reason why you're here. There's a reason why you're here. And this is kind of growing pains, right? It's like, if I'm challenged like this, okay, I'm learning. I must be going somewhere, because if I already knew how to do everything, then it's like, it would get boring eventually, right? And so I feel like that is maybe a good reminder to be like, give yourself grace, like allow yourself to learn, be nice to yourself. And yeah, I'm trying. I'm trying. But yeah, Patti, tell us about you, because you also, you did a PhD, you probably felt some of it similar to what I'm experiencing now, but then you're also a founder and you're starting a company and things like that. So how does that feel, you know, like entering also a new field from a PhD?
Yeah, I will say thank you for sharing, all of you. I completely agree. Um, I can share this. I will say in every new role that I start, no, I felt this syndrome, no, because actually the more also the more you know about something, the more you feel you don't know, and you have a lot to learn, no. When you go deeply, no, there's some people that know only the surface and they talk a lot and they think they know, but you know, when you start to go deeply into the topic, you say, okay, there's still a lot to learn, no. But I'm a learner by nature, no. So for me, I will say a similar advice that you both were saying, no, Maricelina and Cosmin, no, to be humble about it and ask and be a learner. No, you are always, even though you have many years of experience, you always have something to learn. No, and it's a world very competitive. We have to admit that. No, in some particular in some sectors. No, sometimes in NGO sectors, in research sectors. So it's very competitive, and then there is a lot of egos as well, no? Because the people want to go as fast as they can, maybe to publish papers or to compete for grants, no? These kind of things. Also, the consulting sector is super competitive. Uh, but still, I think I have an open mindset to learn and to work with people who are different experts, no? They have different expertise, and you learn from them, and you admit what you know, and you keep learning, keep improving your skills with the roles. So you, as we were saying, you don't have to be perfect for that role. It's completely human to make mistakes, but it's important to admit them and to correct them and to know how to improve yourself. No, I will say that.
Yes, thank you. I see some positive reactions, so thank you. I'm feeling we have a very really useful and detailed conversation and about what our audience can do to make this career transition that they're dreaming of. So now I would like to ask each speaker to give some really advice to people about on how to make this career transition. What do they need to aim for or start doing? Something that maybe we have not discussed yet in the call. So what are the steps, some concrete actions that you would advise them to start doing if they would like to make this career transition and go to the ocean sector? And then let's start with Marie-Céline. Over to you. What would you advise them to do?
Thanks. I'm lucky to start because I think we will all agree on that one. We already talked about it, but networking. I mean, joining this kind of webinar is a good example. Make sure we share the LinkedIn profile, connect with us, connect between all of you, have a look at who is doing what, maybe have chats, like the power of networking, being on LinkedIn, being at conferences. Like if you see, depending on where you live, I've never lived I mean, apart from now in a very big city, so I never had very cool events. But if there is a talk, a book reading, a film screening, like anything related to the ocean or to the space you want to work in, go there because you might meet one person that in 1 month or 1 year is going to introduce you to another person. So I would say networking is key. And I know Cosmin mentioned also the personal touch. I would highly recommend this. Like sometimes I meet big CEOs or directors of something, and the one thing I remember is that their daughter is learning French, and we just talked about it. And I didn't even ask him anything about what he's doing because I know it's something I can look on his website or on LinkedIn. So I would say trying to connect with people is very important because it's what they will remember. And it would be easier in the future to maybe collaborate with them. And I have to mention it, there is a very, very strong support between women. So I would say if you're a woman, don't be afraid to tap into this very strong community that we have. I find it that the woman spirit, woman empowerment is very strong. So don't hesitate to reach out to us. And my last advice would be, I mean, yeah, last kind of, we'd already also mentioned it, but start somewhere. I started in a at the time, very small NGO, was not really paid. I knew I was going to go just for 1 year because of financial reasons. I could not do more than a year. But thanks to that, and I was planting corals. Like imagine me working at Adidas, on global campaigns, millions of euros, and now I was underwater. Well, I was mainly on my computer, but still planting some corals and so on. Start somewhere. It could be, could you volunteer in your local community? Like, for example, if you live on the coast of France, maybe there is one project once a year you want to do. Do you want to organize one event on June 8th for World Ocean Day because you realize there is nothing in your school or in your village or in your city or at your football club? You know what I mean? So start somewhere. And as Cosmin and Patricia mentioned it, we're never going to reach perfection or know everything. So do some do something that if you have to do a few extra hours and if it has to be volunteering for a few days or 1 hour a week, I would say it's still worth it and you will meet people. And one last thing I wanted to say is that we often talk about how can someone enter the ocean bubble? One thing that I'm very interested in is how can you bring the ocean to your current bubble? Because like Patricia, I have a lot of one-on-ones. Like I help a lot of people. Like how can I make it happen? And sometimes it's a very, very difficult space to enter. But sometimes I have calls with people who work in a big company in France, and then they're like, I want to make the transition. I'm like, okay, maybe the first step is that June is coming, so maybe I have this in mind. On June 8th, every single employee of your company knows that it's Ocean Day. And maybe every single company or your company gives money to an organization that you know is doing good job. And then you create a partnership. And then maybe through this partnership, you will become the ocean representative of that company, and then it will open doors and you will enter that bubble. So don't always think, how can I enter that bubble, but also how could you bring the ocean conservation and all your passion within what you're already doing if you're in an entirely different industry? Because I think that's what we are mainly missing at the moment is the ocean bubble is a bubble, but we really need to expand and we need more people to work on it and more funding to go towards ocean conservation. So that's it.
Yeah, I really like that main point of like you just should start somewhere because I always like to think, okay, what's my first step? What's my second step? What's my third step? But sometimes you don't know what's the second and the third step, right? All you can do is really just like make the first step, and then other steps open up that you didn't even know they existed before, like you say, like the partnership, and maybe you represent that organization. Those are things I've never thought about. It's like if you follow your passion or your interest and you make your first step, other paths will open. Yeah. I think that's a very strong message. What about you, Cosmin? Do you have any clear advice on maybe if someone is interested to get into ocean governance or something, what would you maybe recommend?
I share the advice of the other speakers as well, and they did a good job at ticking everything. What I can say, and it's already been mentioned, that it's a competitive field. It's a small field, limited amount of people, but at the same time, it is a growing field. There is more funding than it ever was, despite the fact that it's limited. It's never been as good as it is right now. Again, that doesn't mean it's perfect. That doesn't mean all is well. But the work is there to be done. So there are a lot of skills which can be transferred. There are a lot of training programs, webinars, and networks where you can join relatively easily. At the IOI, we try as much as we can to give it for free in the limits of our budgets. I know that the ECOP network has a tremendous global, how can I say it, Evgenia, alumni network, or nodes, I think it's in your case, really knowledgeable people as well. So there are, and I'm sure there are many other organizations like that. I also would like to say that I'm noticing that a lot of people have answered my cold emails. I just send them. At the bare minimum, they just send me the link to their newsletter. Still, that was okay. It was a reply. In some fields, you're not gonna get it as well. So I would recommend doing whatever courses you can in the availability of your time. It doesn't have to be Everything does not have to be lined up before jumping on an opportunity. Exposure can give you the clarity that you're lacking at any certain moment. You get better with doing whatever you have to do. I'm a terrible public speaker, but they keep inviting me to these things, and now I'm okay. So yeah, that's uh, that's about it from my side.
Yeah, I think you're being very humble, Cosmin. I know that you're a great speaker, and I know why people are inviting you. We have collaborated on a lot of occasions, so I think you're doing very fine. So yeah, no, I absolutely agree. I think just do trainings or courses or summer schools where this is possible and just see where this will lead you, because it all relates to the networking kind of advice. Just enlarge your networking bubble. This is very important. Okay, and then so let's see what Patty tells us. Patty, what would be your advice?
Thank you.
Well,
I think a lot was said already. But I cannot, I wanted to reflect a bit more about Marisaline also, what she mentioned about about working with other sectors, no? And particularly, I do that quite a lot with Oceanogami, engaging with the private sector. And there is a lot to do in that, no? You were mentioning, if you are working in a company that doesn't do anything about the ocean, you can even change that, no? Or try to change that, no? And I was working with my consultancy company, actually with companies that they didn't do anything about the ocean, and they started to do plastic awareness campaigns, team building activities to connect the people with the ocean, and some companies even they create their own department, and they were looking for a project manager related that they have ocean experience. So there is, as also Cosmin say, our field is growing so much. No, all the blue economy space, marine conservation space is growing. There are more and more opportunities in the different sectors. So uh, even if you come from a sector or from an industry that you think doesn't have anything to do with the ocean, you can bring your skills or even still working on that organization and also work on the field that you like. But to add something new, I would say it's very important to follow your values, to realize what you really would like to do and not. The most important is what I don't want to do. For example, I have we have one person who can have very clear that they don't want to be working in an office at 8 hours sitting in a computer. No, okay, so don't look for that. No, of course, it's good to be open to different roles, and you never know. You maybe you find it passionate. I had very clear that they want to go to, work in a lab, and I ended up doing a PhD working on a lab all day, and I was really passionate about it. But later on, I changed, no, because it was not my thing, no. So I think it's important to be also sincere with yourself, what you really like, and that will help you to focus, no? Because there are many opportunities around, even if you come from a different field completely that is not marine conservation, or even if you come from a sector and you would like to transition in sectors, that I find this a lot of these profiles in the one-to-one sessions that they book with me, the career sessions that I do. They need so to have a clear focus, no. It's good to know what they what they want to do or not, no, and this can change over time. At the beginning, I was very passionate about doing field work about doing work with people, a lot of stakeholder engagement. But now I have a different values because now I have a family. I am a mom and I'm pregnant also now. So then I want what I want now is to have flexibility, no, to work remotely, still doing my work because I really like it. I'm very passionate about it, but have this flexibility of work. So you can change your values over time as well, or what you would like to do, no, in your career stage. So, and you learn when you are starting a new job, also you learn about what you like and you know, no, you don't have it clear. So don't worry also if you don't have it clear straight away.
I think this is great. I feel like every one of you has brought in a different spin to this whole conversation, and also like where to start and how to change careers if you look for that, especially. The only advice that I can also add is what was big for me is signing up for newsletters. That is a very practical first step that you can do. That's how I found my PhD, for example. It's really I know they can accumulate and I know they can get a lot, but like setting aside some time and just seeing what other people or what webinars are being offered, things like that can give you a lot of resources as well. Yeah, Evgenia, do you have anything you want to add?
Yes, yeah, no, I agree. I think our speakers, and again, I would like to really thank them. I think you have all shared some very valuable, extremely concrete and realistic advice with our audience, and I see a lot of really appreciative comments in the chat. Yeah, so I'd like to, based on my experience, I think I'd like to share a few things as well. The speaker is also touched upon, you know, this networking and starting with something part of. So I completely relate, and I would like to urge you to have the approach that probably this career transition will not happen in a day, that will take time, and you should be prepared for that. So start with something, as we were saying. You know, don't worry about, you know, step 2 and step 3. You know, life will bring something to you, but you need to start something, whether this is joining, well, signing up for a newsletter, or joining your, you know, some club, some maybe clean up the coastline campaign near you, or World Ocean Day campaign, whatever you can find in your area, even online, that will be a great first step. So do something and then see where this will bring you. Be prepared that maybe first you will do something for free. This can be volunteering, this can be a free non-paid internship, but this will bring you a network. Maybe you will start with a part-time. Be prepared that maybe you will, for some time, you will be working more than you are used to. You will need to keep your usual job, your current job, and do something on top of that to make this transition. And also, I don't want to be, you know, sugarcoating, etc., but you need to think carefully about the financial side of it. Sometimes, yes, you can be like, yeah, you know, I want to go to the ocean sector. I'm fed up with this whatever business job. Let's say I'm doing this, does not make any sense to me. I want to make this transition. But think carefully, especially obviously if you have a family, if you have some dependents, you have to plan. Also, you know, even if you're single, you need to plan. You need to save something to allow for like 6 months in advance to have this financial pillow to live off while you're doing something else. If you want to make an experience and go to some internship somewhere not paid, but that will bring you a lot of experience that you can showcase on your CV, save first. You know, always have this safe financial pillow. And then also, yeah, just think about, let's say if you're used to having a big salary, if you, let's say if you're working in business, search first what kind of salary you'll be having if you're moving to the ocean sector. Because if the discrepancy is too high, you need to understand whether, you know, that new salary will cover for your needs that you are used to have, and ask yourself a very honest question, like, am I okay with this? Will I be okay with this financial move? And earning less that I'm used to. Also, actually be honest with yourself when you are saying that you want to move to the ocean sector. Like, what is it that you actually want? Do you actually want to spend your like 10, 20, 30 years of your life working in a lab or doing research, writing scientific papers, talk to people, what they actually do? Maybe you will find that boring after a while, you know? Maybe what you want to do now is just some change in your life. Let's say you are bored with this job that you're having now, you want to change, but maybe you don't actually understand what this new commitment will be. Maybe what you want, let's say if you're saying like, yes, I want to do something for the ocean, I really care for the ocean, that's great. Maybe what you need to do is just, I don't know, like volunteering, participating in the clean up the ocean campaign, clean up the beach or clean up the ocean campaigns, etc. Maybe some, you know, part-time job will do that, will cover that need for you, that, you know, psychological need or social need that you have. So I really urge you to be honest with yourself and try to understand what is it that you actually need at the moment, and then decide whether you just need some change, some additional commitment job or part-time, or if you need really a PhD, or if you just need a training, online course, summer school, etc. Yeah, so I think that's what I wanted to say. And then, yeah, do think about transferable skills. I think we've listed lots of them in our conversation. So do think about them and identify them. I'm sure you have a lot of great transferable skills. I think that was a good wrap up, Fiona, and then we can move to a Q&A.
Yeah, I think you've summarized it so well. I have literally nothing to add. And also, like, this whole conversation has been so engaging. And also, since it's being recorded, people can go back and listen to it again. You know, certain skills. I have a whole list of skills here that I'm not going to read right now. I'm sure everyone has listened very carefully. But I have had a look at some questions. And so we're opening the floor. If you have any questions, please make sure to add them into the Q&A box. That is, you can sometimes find it under the three dots with more, not in the chat because it's tricky for us to make sure we're reading all the questions, but happy to connect over the chat. I know you're doing it already, so that is amazing. But maybe let's come to the first question. So Andrea is saying, I'm an environmental engineer and marine scientist. I moved to France a few months ago, and I've been looking for opportunities in research, conservation, project management, or NGOs, but it has been really difficult. I also love doing field work. Do you have any tips for doing applications and for making a CV more attractive? Floor is open to anyone that has thoughts.
If I can jump in, because I feel very identified with the question. So I will say something similar that I say first, because they are, I see what for the message, no? Thank you, Andrea, for sharing that you are looking different types of roles, no? Or different research, conservation, project management, NGOs, no? So it will be good to first to define what path you would like to do. And then from there, what the skills you need for following that path. And as I say, you don't have to have it completely clear. Maybe you follow one path as I did, and then you realize, okay, no, I don't like much that. You go to another. So you don't have to be afraid also that it's not a definite path, but it will bring you eventually where you want to be, no? What you want to do, no? If you have somebody that it helps a lot to have someone that you follow that you say, oh, I would love to have the role that she has in marine conservation. I'm going to follow her or him, no, on LinkedIn, and see, okay, what I need to arrive there, no? Maybe even talk with that person and maybe can share experience, and maybe also talking, maybe you realize, okay, maybe it's not as fun as I thought this job, no? It's a bit also has, of course, every job, you always have things that they are not, they are more hard, or they are not, so you have to work in the computer all the time, no? These kind of things. But if you still, what you do, you really are passionate about it, this doesn't really matter so much, no? So I would say that first, and later to make CV and applications more attractive. Yes, I can give quite a lot of advice, not right now, but I would say it depends where you want to apply, no? If it's you want to go to research, you have a research CV. If you would like to work in NGO, you have an NGO CV. And that can help probably a lot, Cosmin and Marie, for other type of CVs, not research CVs, to make them more visual, easy to communicate, no? So that's very important. It depends where you want to work. You have these different CVs, and of course later you adapt it to the application without, of course, without lying of what you have or what you your skills, no? But always adapt it to the role, no? So that's my little advice.
Yeah, please go ahead, Cosmin.
Tremendous advice from Patricia. I'm not even gonna add anything to that. But also I would like to say maybe a bit unpopular opinion. Sometimes not all jobs come from job advertising. It's you have to have a great CV, exactly as Patricia recommended, specifically tailored to the job. But it's important to keep the reality. Sometimes companies and projects, they simply do not have time for this process, and they just bypass it through word of mouth. Hey, I know someone. Hey, I know this, I know that. Someone who's willing to start, and there you go, you have a connection. There will be jobs where you don't even give them your CV. I know it's a bit unpopular. There's still meritocracy in a way. I'm not saying that there's a lack of meritocracy, but it's not only meritocracy, you're entering an ecosystem. So it's important to be present.
Yeah, I agree. A recommendation will always go like way further than your CV. So we go back to the networking and being honest, like every time in this ecosystem, if you do a good job, people will know. And I believe it will pay back. Sometimes it takes time because at the moment it's not that easy to find jobs. So it's very important to be honest and do your work, because I fully agree with Cosmin in that ecosystem. It's a lot on recommendation from people. And also to follow up on what Patricia said, from a business point of view, from a more foundations, founders, organizations point of view, I do receive a lot of CVs. I would get something more catchy, visual, like people want to get to know you, people want to know more about you, because as Cosmin mentioned at the very beginning, like everyone is super, super, super busy. So just make it easy for them. So in one look, they kind of grasp that working with you would be nice. There are, I don't know how many tens of amazing CVs, but then at the end we're colleagues. It's very difficult jobs. Let's be honest, it's depressing to work in that space, but we're all here and we have hope and we want to do good, but it's still depressing. So you usually want to work with people you like. So just try to have this, like, what are your passions? Try to also share a little bit of who you are in the CV, because maybe this is how you're going to you're going to make it through all of the CVs that also have PhD and volunteering and so on. So don't be afraid to be a bit original. Not if you apply to something very, very scientific and there is a template and they don't want something else, but if you're not looking in that field, don't be afraid to be creative and original, I would say.
Thank you. I think this is really great advice. Okay, let's move to our next question. I see some very nice questions in the Q&A section, so thank you all so much for sharing them. So our next question, which is a super interesting one, is: do you think AI is a threat for Ocean? careers? The floor is open. Does anyone want to
I can start with just a few
Yes.
words, if that's okay.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that, first of all, AI is a tool for now. And I wouldn't say that a tool would be a threat in any scenario. It's like the transition, I don't know, from newspapers to newsletters. Of course, newsletters threaten the newspapers, but at the same time, we get information delivered faster now. I cannot say that that was a threat. It was a reality at the end of the day. And I think it's the same with AI. It can be very helpful. It can, we can suffer from the usual pitfalls of AI where it tends to give you the answer that you want. There's a whole list of drawbacks to it, and I'm pretty sure everyone knows about it. I do recommend using it in cases where it can multiply your work, bring your points, identify which points are relevant in that way. I wouldn't call it a threat. It's going to be the same for all industry, including this one. It's something we'll have to live with. Maybe it's going to get better. Maybe it's going to get worse. Maybe they'll make it so expensive that it's going to be irrelevant. We don't know yet.
Yeah, just to add a bit on Cosmin, yeah, I agree. It's a tool that it's a revolutionary tool, actually. That I believe that everyone needs to know how to use it properly. And in many different fields in the marine conservation, it can be well used. But I think it's important, at least for the moment, to have a brain after the AI. So to really look at the outputs and then, and be there, revise everything if you are using it for example, for helping you to write a proposal or something like that. That doesn't invent things, this kind of thing. So it's really important that you are if you are working on something very technical, for example, that you are an expert on the field or someone expert revise it, make sure it's accurate work, particularly in research, is well referenced, all this. So I am encouraged to use it, but very, thinking well, and revising it well, because also in my own consultancy company, I had issues with that, that it doesn't give good quality results, this kind of things. So you have to use it careful, of course, and we still need humans for that.
It's just to build very quickly on what Patricia just said. It's very useful at when you use it on skills and knowledge you already have. You're just speeding that process up, but you already have that knowledge. If you were to do, for example, let's say a press brief, you would do it in 3 hours, but now with AI, you do it in 1 hour. That's wonderful. It saved you time. You have the knowledge already. You know how to do it. You knew what to ask from AI. You knew how to use this tool. So I think it's very good when used properly.
Agree. I think it's mainly a tool. And as long as we have a way to keep on tracking scientific data, like making sure that what it writes is still right, I think it would stay a tool, and it will never replace the soft skills you have when you meet people, when you talk to people. So yeah, so far I think it's a tool, and I think it will free more space for us to do more, and as just Cosmin said, to do things we usually don't have time to do and that our brains have the capacity to do.
Thank you. Thank you, Marie-Céline. Thank you, everyone. I think we can just take one last question. So we're nearing the end of the webinar. Fiona, would you mind selecting one? I know they're all really very important ones. And also, Marie-Céline will need to leave, unfortunately, just in 2 minutes. So just to use this moment, I would like to say thank you, Marie-Céline, to be with us for all your valuable inputs. And I believe you have shared all your profiles on social media, so please do contact and connect with Marie-Céline for further collaboration. And thank you so much,
Thank
Marie-Céline.
you.
Have a good rest of the day.
Thank you so much.
And then, yeah, Fiona, can we have another question then now?
Yeah. Thank you for joining, Celine. Bye-bye. Yeah, I'm just looking through these questions and I think they're all very interesting. A lot of them are really specifically to very specific changes in careers, but also I'm wondering kind of like if there are any, well, let me see. I saw a question somewhere. Here, exactly. Thank you so much for the talks. My background is fully academic, PhD and postdoc, and I'm now looking to transition into science education and policy. And in your opinion, is it necessary to seek additional training or workshops to build skills outside of academia, such as project management and marketing, in order to successfully make the shift? And I'm also honestly like curious about your guys' reply to this question, because obviously doing a PhD, you are an expert in some marine field, right? But like it's not enough, or in a certain sense, you're missing all these skills to then apply maybe for project management roles and things like this. So is it recommended to take certain courses? Are others better than, like, are some courses better than others, and so on? So yeah, if you have anything to add to this.
Yeah, if I can add as my own experience with a PhD, I think many times we undervalue our PhD or postdoc experience, no? But when you are doing a PhD, you're already learning a lot about project management. You are managing your own project. You probably know also, Fiona. Um, so you have already these skills. So you just need to use them in another sector, no? But you can use that. Marketing, okay, maybe it's a bit more specific, but still, you have to know how to sell your project in that way, no? Like when you apply, when you write a proposal, or when you write a paper, or when you communicate in a conference, you are communicating to different audiences, no? So you need to know that. So you have already these interdisciplinary skills, no? Transversal skills. But of course, depends where you want to work. You need to build it more or more deeply, no? But it all depends on your role as well, no? If you are not going to work in a communication and marketing role, because you are going to have in the NGO, there's going to be a person already specialized on that. Maybe you are going to work as a project manager. So then you can bring your own skills of the PhD and postdoc, and you will learn on the job as well. And I encourage as well, if you see any online courses or in-person courses, that are also very valuable. Some of them are funded, so you don't need to self-funding. So look for that, for the skills that you think you are missing for the role that you would like to do. But at the same time, value what you have already.
I just want to jump in, and maybe Cosmin, you have to say something as well. But I feel like also what you're right, you're like waking us up again, because what I read a little bit in that question is also the imposter syndrome again, right? It's like, oh, I did a PhD, but like I could never lead a project. And like you're saying, think outside the box, maybe even, yeah, like network or find someone who is in project management or marketing and let them tell you what their skills, right, they need. And then you can maybe think, oh, well, actually, like, yeah, I've done this before, just in a different context or with different people, or yeah, like you say, project management. So yeah, believe in yourself and in your skills. There's definitely something you have to offer. Just think about it from a different angle. Cosmin, do you want to add anything to this question?
Cannot add much. I don't have a PhD. What I would like to add is just a bit of a on the just an item on the real politics side of things, because I know that a lot of people are driven by passion in this field. They're driven, organizations have values and they're passionate, but at the same time, they hire for needs, just like any other industry. You have to frame your skills within those needs in order to help them. You have political issues, you have financial issues that you have to account for. There's going, it's, I think just to sum it up in one word, the relevance beats passion, if that makes sense, I hope.
Yes, yeah, I do agree, and I think it's all very much, job based and relevant to a specific opportunity. And I would really urge you to do your research and see what skills are needed for a certain position you might be looking for. So if there's a job you are looking for, and let's say they do work a lot with communication, so you would be need to be creating, I don't know, flyers or communications campaign. Do your research in this field, like advance your skills there, right? And also strategically look at the tasks that you've been doing before and try to connect them to the terms of reference in the jobs that you would like to apply. And as I said, there are a lot of online courses. Many of them are free. Just it's a matter of finding the right one and really advance your skills. You don't have, in many cases, you don't have to have a PhD to do this to do the career transition. Yeah, so
I think we're
right
coming to
over the time. Fiona.
Yeah, 5 minutes, but I feel like we've had good time to talk about everything and some questions. I know there's some open questions, but we're already 6 minutes over the time. I just want to take a second to thank everyone for joining us, you, Cosmin, and you, Patti, and of Gifgenia for making this webinar possible, really, and for everyone online joining us today. I hope this was somewhat helpful for you guys. I hope you got some new motivation to follow your passion and maybe make the transition or find a new path. Who knows? We're all here to support you and we believe in you. So thank you very much.
Yes, and I would just like to highlight, because I see still some questions about from people looking for opportunities. I've just posted a few links in the overall chat. So the first one is the link to our ECOP program website. You will find there a link to subscribe to our newsletter. So our newsletter is also one of the ways to receive some great opportunities for your next step. We also compiled a big database of ocean networks. So wherever you are, there are some youth groups or organizations supporting youth and ECOPs that you might find very useful for your next role. And also I'll post now a link also from our website with the database of opportunities. It's still in the making, but please do save the link, and there are a lot of great opportunities over there as well. And thank you very much for all your engagement, both the speakers, Cosmin, Patti. You have been great, and Fiona, that was a pleasure to co-moderate this with you. I feel that we might need to do that a second time, because there are a lot of things we haven't touched upon due to the time. And thank you so much to our audience for your wonderful contributions and really your enthusiasm for this webinar. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure. And yes, I'm happy to stay in touch with the people who has additional questions.
Same on my side. I left my email as well. Don't hesitate to reach out. If anybody's coming to European Maritime, they will be in Cyprus. So maybe we meet over there randomly, as we spoke.
Yeah, just look for International Ocean Institute, and Cosmin will be there.
Amazing.
Okay, so thank you and have a good day, evening, night.
Yeah, thank you very much, you guys. Have a good day,
Thank you
evening,
very
night.
much. Goodbye.
Joining.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you for organizing. Thank you everyone for coming.
Thank you.